Hi, it's Corrine. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by today. So I just wanted to show quickly my inspiration. This is from Color Cube Volume 2. And here is the finished stencil. So I just wanted to show how I came to this. I used some Concord 9th inks, and I did not follow this completely because I wanted a little bit something brighter in here, whether it was going to be yellow or pink. So how I came to this is I used Color Cube 266, and for this color, which was my main flower, I used Rainforest. Then I chose for the two leaves, because I did want them to have a little bit of a variation. I think it shows a little bit more on here. I did it much lighter, which I think turned out pretty. For these, I used Sprout and Grasshopper. But then I wanted it to be a little darker at the base, so I brought in Artichoke. So that's how I came to those colors using these. And then instead of using the black or this darker color here, this blue, that's when I brought in pink. So for pink, I chose Watermelon, and then I wanted to deepen it a little and choose Honeysuckle because I thought those would look good with these colors here that I chose. And then I did want a little bit of a yellow, but I chose Stardust because I thought that went well with these colors also. I didn't think a bright yellow would look good, so I used a little bit more of a golden yellow. So I stamped my stamp with some VersaFine Onyx black ink, and then I went ahead and inked it up using the stencils and some Concord 9th inks that I showed in the beginning. If you're curious to see the inking of that, I will add a video at the end of this video showing the stencil process. I also cut two more of that same die cut from thick 120-pound cardstock. I love giving a little lift on a project. So I glued all three of those together, set them aside, let them dry. And after I inked with the colored inks, I did also put it back in my Misty and stamp over that with some VersaFine black Onyx ink. Again, just to make sure it had a nice detailed black line. So I'm pulling out my Sizzix die cut machine. I wanted to emboss with the Leafy 3D embossing folder from Spellbinders. So I did use some thick cardstock, and I misted it with a little bit of water and ran that through my die cutting machine. This card is a 5x6 card, and you'll see that I'll put a color mat of 5 3/4 by 4 3/4, and then this embossing piece is 5.5 by 4.5. I'm just scoring my card base now. It was easy for me to just fold over my card base and then cut it down to a 5x6. So I'm using a piece of the matching cardstock as my main flower. It's the Rainforest by Concord 9th. And I wanted to add a little embossing to the inside of the card as well, but I have to put it at the top because I won't be able to write a sentiment over it. So I'm just running that through. This is the matching embossing folder that goes with that flower, and that'll be on the top part of my card when you open it. So you won't see that from the outside, being that I'm matting it. I pulled out Catherine Pooler's birthday celebrations. This is a new to me stamp set, and I absolutely love the fonts that come in this stamp set. So I'm just kind of looking at them, trying to decide which one I want to go with. I pulled out some clear embossing powder and a piece of that, a scrap piece of that rainforest. I'm going to treat that with my anti-static powder tool. And this is the first time using this this sentiment. This one is going to say happy birthday. It's for the outside of the card. And I'm clear embossing it. So in the end, it ends up looking like maybe a dark gray color. It's really pretty. I decided to stamp it twice just in case it got messed up or if I just wanted to keep it for another project, but I end up using it to layer it under my piece to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm adding my clear embossing powder. I will hit that with my heat tool. And then I pulled out a stitched rectangle die that comes in a set of A2 set dies that I have, and it ended up being the perfect size. I just pulled that from my stash and then I cut out 3 layers, so I have 3 thicknesses of the cardstock. And I like doing that with the matching cardstock because then from the side you don't see it. So I'm just showing you up close. It has a little bit of a stitched edge. It turned out really pretty. And now I'm going to stamp the inside of my card. I use my Misty, and I chose the stamp that says hooray for your birthday. I love finishing off the inside of my cards, even if it's just a simple stamp, which that's all I did to this one. I just think it finishes the card so nicely. So I taped that down to my work surface just so it didn't move around. And I used some Beacon Fabri-Tac. Gave those a few minutes to dry. It's quick on video, but I just edited that out. And then I added my piece to the front. Again, it has some really nice dimension to it. This is a very simple card, but such a pretty card. So here's where I layer the 3 pieces of matching cardstock together. And again, I love that font. I'm cutting a tiny piece of foam tape to go behind it so it sits flush on the front of my card. Pulled out some of these clear dewdrops and I sprinkled them throughout the card. The glue I'm using in a fine tip bottle is Barely Art. It'll dry completely clear, and these add so much to the card, in my opinion. So here's a closer look. Hopefully you can see that dimension. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this quick card process. Please consider subscribing to my channel, leaving me a comment and a thumbs up. It really does help my channel out. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Have a great day.